Good day, everyone. I hope all of you are doing great. Today, we will be discussing about the factors that limit population size. No population can increase without limitation. Populations in natural ecosystem changes in accordance to the factors that limit growth. There are limiting factors that keep the density of population down. But first, let us discuss what is limiting factor. Limiting factor is an environmental factor that triggers the increase and decrease of a population. There are several types of limiting factors, which include density-dependent and density-independent factors. These factors control the growth of population based on the environment's carrying capacity. Now, let us figure out what density-dependent factor is. Density-dependent factors are factors that affect population and rely on the number of organisms. Dependent factors include predation and herbivore effect, competition, and parasites and disease-causing organisms. They affect the most when the number of organisms in an area is high. The most obvious type of limiting factor is the predation and herbivore effect, where the population cycle goes up and down. Predation is when some species are food for another species, while herbivora is when the plant is a prey organism. Let us take for example the predator population of wolves and the prey population of moose. When the moose population grows large enough to be an easy prey for the wolves, wolves will be fortunate to have plenty to eat, and their population will also increase. The death rate of the moose, on the other hand, will likewise increase. However, as the population of moose goes down, the wolves' population of death rate will rise also because of starvation. The moose population will go back up afterwards because of the death rate of wolves' population. This cycle is just repeating. The same idea is going to happen between plants and animals. Another limiting factor is parasites and disease-causing organisms. The sizes of host population can be regulated by parasites. Parasites can easily spread from one host to another when the population is denser. For instance, they feed at the expense of their host, weakening them, causing them disease or death. The limiting factor depends on how many hosts there are. The more host population, the more easily parasites can spread from one host to another. Another limiting factor is competition. The denser individuals living in an area, the more available resources will be used up. Crowded populations lead to individuals to compete in order to get food, water, space, sunlight, and other essentials. Some can get enough to survive and reproduce, but others will just starve and die, lowering the birth rates. Let us move on to the next limiting factor, which is the density independent. These factors affect population but do not depend on the number of organisms. The following density-independent factors include catastrophic events, seasonal cycles, and climate changes. Under catastrophic events include hurricanes, tornadoes, and earthquakes. These events are density-independent factors because the size of population is not relevant with how population is affected by a certain event. Seasonal changes such as summer and winter, as well as the climate change which includes rainfall amount changes, are also considered to be density-independent factors for the same reason. They do not correlate with how population is affected. At this point, let us discuss the categorization of limiting factors. Limiting factors can be categorized as abiotic and biotic. Abiotic is any non-living thing that affects ecosystem such as water and climate, while biotic is any non-living thing that influences an ecosystem such as prey, predators, and pathogens. Water is essential for life, and climate greatly influences the population. These factors shape the environment where ecosystem and other organisms belong. Biotic, with a predation as a limiting factor. As discussed earlier, predation is when some species are food for another species. For example, rabbits eat grasses, and hawks eat rabbits. When there is a scarce of resources, competition occurs. Factors may be density dependent or independent, but it is important to remember that major changes to any population can create an imbalance between individuals in their environment.
That would be all. This is Shella Docto, a student journalist of Negros Oriental State University. I hope you enjoyed learning. Thank you for watching.